This is the Nomestia podcast, where we return to home as a paste. You are welcome here.
This week, because we've done a few episodes now, and we realised that we've done these episodes, but we've not really set out our stall in terms of what nomestia is. I think that's fair to say. Certainly not on the podcast.
Did it on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. But we just thought it'd be good to actually just discuss what nomestia is.
Well, for us.
For us, yeah.
I did some videos on YouTube, and what I found really hard was the editing process and doing the video and setting it up, because you didn't really enjoy video format.
No.
And then when I was editing it, it was bloody hard work. And then I was editing it in DaVinci, and the sound was slightly lagging to the video. And then when I got into it, it was like a level of editing that, to be honest with you, made me want to throw my laptop out the window, because it was saying, like, you know, obviously if you've gone through and done the change of frame rate and everything else, and I do everything myself, and I learn every new platform myself, and learning DaVinci was a whole new thing for me, because my laptop just couldn't support the basic iMovie anymore. And I'd done like Video Leap and that kind of thing, so I have an understanding of how to edit video, and I did a little course back in the day, but that just was too much for me. So there was a slight lag on the voice and the video. So then a couple of people have said maybe you should have video of the podcast, but I'm just not getting into it, because you edit it on Audacity.
Yeah.
And then that would mean you would have to be editing the video, and basically it would mean you could go into some kind of AI program and pay a lot of money per month, and it edits it for you. But for me, there's something quite important, I think, anyway, personally, about understanding how to edit the raw format, which is why when someone said to me, and I actually said this to a friend who does massive, big video edits for big companies, and I said I just could not understand CapCut. But then the other day you tried to just do a little video overlay, and you just like, oh yeah, I can do that. Whereas if I open up CapCut, I'm like, I don't understand this at all, because it's all AI and it's all done for you, and I understand the mechanics. So when you understand the mechanics, you can't then go back to it does it for you, because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
no, that is difficult. Yeah, it was the driving video, wasn't it? Yeah. And I was just like, oh yeah, no, because you were like, God, how long have you taken to do that? And I was like, oh no, I literally just, the CapCut, just AI just did it.
No, you see, for me, I can't. Don't get me wrong, I've got free AI PAs.
They're like your staff now, aren't they?
Yeah, and I know that, you know, it's burning down forests or whatever it's doing. I'm not really understanding the ins and outs of it. But for me, that process, that's important. That's why my video looks so raw, because I want it to feel like I've actually edited it, because analog is my favourite thing. And I don't ever want to lose analog. And I don't ever want to understand. I always want to understand the mechanics of things, which is why then we went into the podcast. But initially, the podcast didn't start with the backstory.
Yeah. Which
is why, if anybody is interested, there are the initial few videos. And what's so interesting is because, like, obviously we're not doing the whole, what's the word, when you do like a title that's so ridiculous, and then
well, like the clickbait thing.
We're not doing clickbait. And when we uploaded those initial videos, like, we sold our house to live with in this van with 5 children, a cat and a dog. Like, that was one of the videos. That one has had like the most views, but all my like pretty analog, this is our life with like nice overlay, which I think are much more soothing, they don't get the views, because we live in a world of clickbait.
Yeah.
Which is, and those clickbait videos, I don't know about anyone else, but I mean, we've had this discussion a million times, but do you know what really fucks me off? A bit like you saying about the blog with Marrakesh. It's when you like listen to that whole video and the fucking clickbait isn't even covered in it.
In general, in any clickbait, so either an article, you know, a video, normally it's a massive anticlimax.
Well,
like normally it's a massive.
Do you know what I always
anticlimax.
remember is that one van life, to be nameless, but there was this one van life
Honestly, we always quote this example, and it was confrontation with rude Frenchman.
That was it.
And you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, but that was before I
God.
realised that you basically confront rude French people in vans all the time.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the course. But then you watch the video, and it's just this French guy is a bit annoyed because of their engine was making a bit of noise.
Do you know what? You should get a real problem, because I could do a video on conflict with French people, and let me tell you, that would genuinely be an interesting episode.
That's the thing. I think we have had genuine confrontations with other campers, haven't we?
Yeah.
But so I mean, this is the thing. This is what we're trying not to do. It's probably not work. Probably doesn't work in our favour.
No, but this is the thing. It doesn't work in our favour. So then it relies on word of mouth, and it relies on a gentle, organic growth. But like I know you really love talking about in every single episode your favourite podcaster. And he said in an episode that we were listening to the other day in the van, how he doesn't do video. He keeps it raw. He does because you were like, oh, do we need the pod mics? And
just to be clear, we're talking about the OG Adam Buxton.
What's fascinating about him, though, I didn't realise that he's had a podcast since when? 2015 or 2005?
No, yes.
2005.
He is. There's a reason why he is called the OG of British podcasting, is that he has literally had a podcast since about 2005. So nearly basically 20 years.
I can't even fathom a podcast 20 years ago. And I started Fanny Chat podcast, even though I stopped and start, which I'm really annoyed at myself about, which is why I want to commit to this. But I started that 12 years ago, about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would have done really well with that podcast. And this is what we've been talking about. It's the people who stick with the one thing and keep going with it.
Yeah. And they just do it well.
Yeah, do it well.
And they just... Yeah, absolutely.
They're rewarded, and Adam Buxton was rewarded.
Adam Buxton, I mean, like Naomi said, not a podcast will go by when I don't mention him. The best episode to hear, his backstory, is him talking to Louis Theroux on Louis Theroux's podcast. The way he, like we say, in a world where podcasts are now videoed and streamed online, he doesn't video his podcasts. He's not on social media. He relies purely on this cult following who just absolutely adore him and everything that he brings out.
Yeah.
He's brought out 2 memoirs that have probably done pretty well. He's now brought out an album, a music album.
Ridiculous.
I love his music, so I should definitely give that album a listen. What I'm really annoyed is that he's actually playing Dreamland in Margate.
No, he's not. Are you winding me up?
Yeah, and we're not going to be around for it.
When was it?
I don't know. I can't remember.
What
I'm
a
so livid.
fucking letdown.
I know.
That's
Anyway.
If you tell me Florence and the Machine is going there next, then I swear I'm going to murder someone. This is the problem.
So, I know we bang on about him, but he is the one to be emulating.
Yeah, because what I like is the people who honour the raw format. That's what I'm trying to talk to. And I am not here to put more work in to get I will get more of a reach if I continuously do that. But what I'm doing is enough, and it's enough for my nervous system. And then I think it will be received in that way. So what I found really interesting is people saying versus the video will ever have had these kind of feedback comments. It's I listened to this podcast on a slow Sunday or while I was pottering,
100%.
and I didn't know genuinely that is the vibe that we create or trying to it is the vibe I'd like to create, but I didn't realise that was the vibe that was being received. You never know what's being received.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's so important to hold on to the vision of what I'm trying to create versus what I've been used to. And so that's why all those kind of videos, the clickbait, we could do all of that about our backstory. We've got it all. I've got better confrontations with French people, as we've just said.
Yeah, we've got
Portuguese
meaty
confrontation. Do you know what I mean? I could go for the whole lot.
We've got meaty. Also, we've got a meaty backstory as well.
Meaty backstory, but I'm not prepared to sell my soul and sell all of that. I don't need to do that because that's not what I'm trying to create. I want to create a community first situation. That's what I've always tried to like build from foundation wise. And I think over the last 12 years being online with my other work, I get pulled into, you should be doing this. You should be doing reels, you should be doing the videos. And when I saw the van lifers, like I remember seeing a video from a van lifer, right? I don't know if you remember it. They were like a young couple and they basically sold everything to buy this American RV. And I looked into that thinking, oh, okay, American RVs.
Yes.
That would have been so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Every time we've seen one of them, I'm like, that's the most impractical vehicle I've ever seen.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, they got an initial video out saying we sold everything and we live in this RV. So I emulated that title, right? We sold everything to live in this van. They got like tens of thousands of views instantaneously, instantly made it with YouTube and instantly built from there.
Yeah.
Well, I got like 80. So like I just not into feeding the system. Like, fuck you, I'm not here to do it, and I'm not here to sell my soul to do that. You know,
so that's why Nomestia podcast exists. But also what we're here today to talk about is why Nomestia exists. So, and we were talking about this earlier on the beach.
Well, yeah, you were like, because this week is the twins' birthday. And I make birthdays a big thing. It takes hours of prep. And then you were like, oh, I don't know if we're going to have time to do the podcast this week. So I was like, you better fucking do a meeting on the beach then, haven't we? And then we can record it. Crack on.
So we literally had a business meeting on the beach.
Took 2 minutes.
Yeah, because I wanted to get back in the sea. No, so we kind of were discussing it and we were like, you know, what was the sort of seed that started off Nomestia? It comes down to basically when our children chose to leave the school system.
By the way, we didn't say we were recording. There's noise in the background, which you probably won't be able to edit out. So let's just say where we're recording today.
Oh, yeah, just before we go into that, let's just talk about... So we are in Tagazu.
Yeah.
Favourite surf town. Love it.
I love Tagazu. I know that everyone thinks it's a bit touristy and overrated, but I honestly think it holds on to some Moroccan charm.
Yeah. And we're parked in the car park sort of that overlooks the main beach. Love it. But it is quite rowdy at the moment.
It's rowdy.
A lot of sort of people parking up, you know, just sort of day parking where we're parked.
It's very different scene.
A lot of coming and going basically.
Because when we were here before in this very car park, it was like just van life people. Like big overlanders were parking up here, children like playing. It was really like fun vibe. But now it's all local Moroccans, which makes for even more of a fun vibe. If like I'm really fascinated by how they come here on their ollie bobs.
Oh, it's brilliant. Love it.
They're all on the beach having the best time. And at the weekend, it was so busy. They were parking everywhere.
Oh, it was mad.
And then, here at night now, it's like really rowdy. It's like a completely different scene. And we have been asking the Moroccans ever since we've been here, well, who's here in the summer? And they're like, the Moroccans.
Yeah. And I literally was like, yeah, but I don't believe that. It just seems odd to me that it would suddenly go from like European tourists to then suddenly be majority Moroccan
and it really
people.
is.
And it just genuinely is. Yeah, the beach is like, I
think apparently they just come to this area for their holidays, especially like up the coast towards the Scylla. Apparently it's like your Bournemouth. That's what someone said to me.
I love that.
That might have been Chris and Cece that said that to me. Maybe not Bournemouth, but you know, that type of vibe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where we're recording anyway. So
so you might hear a bit of background noise,
we can't avoid that. We're in the van.
So we were talking about the children choosing to leave school.
Yeah.
And how that probably was the first sort of seed that created Nomestia, basically. It was children coming out of school, and we were going through that process of sort of like an unschooling of them.
Nomestia was basically born from this realization that freedom could exist in a way that we weren't able to access. And I think there's a lot to be said for how scary and overwhelming this process continues to be.
100%.
And I don't think that enough people talk about that. They might do the odd clickbait reel about it, 10 reasons why van life is hard. But it's not the van life for us that's hard. What's hard is staying in your lane and staying in your truth when everyone else around you is like, why the fuck would you do that? So when the children came out of home education, that was the first hurdle of having to overcome the, why the fuck would you take your children out of school? Why would they leave the school system?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky one, and it creates...
Well, we saw it created a lot of challenge.
Challenge, I think, is the word, yeah.
People where they did not know how to cope. And mainly the people who we had been interacting with. And I was never sure whether it was their projection onto me or my feeling that I was projecting onto them, that they were upset with me for making that decision. And then the children were coming into contact with some pretty brutal, like flippant comments from their friends.
Yeah.
And that was the start of that journey, because they were then aware that their choice and what we were doing as a family was against the grain. And they had to basically be able to come back with a comment to the people that were making comments to them.
So, for example, one of the girls was talking to a friend from school, and one of our girls said something, and then the girl said,
"You'd know that if you went to school."
Yeah, that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's...
A little dig there.
Yeah, that's... And it's the parents, and you know that it's the parents.
Come on. We all know the conversation that's been had at home.
Yeah.
What? So just to clarify, so Paloma and Xanthi just like don't have to go to school anymore. And then you know that the parents along the lines of, yeah, but they're not going to learn anything, are they?
Yeah, but they're going to be, Anyway.
You know the conversations that's been had for that to be the comeback.
But it doesn't make it any less tricky.
It's really
for the
hard.
Children
Yeah,
to have to hear that kind of thing.
But of course, like if I was if you're looking at it from an outsider's perspective, not the parents of the children who are out of school, it's so fascinating to witness children who are in school seeing that their like really good friends have literally left school and just get to like fanning around at home. Well, what does that mean for them? And why do they have to go to school? Why do they leave school? And what, like, so many questions.
Yeah,
like,
it's
because
tricky.
I don't ever remember growing up and having friends that left school to be home educated.
No, exactly.
I don't remember that.
No.
It would have existed, I'm sure, or more, and not as much, but definitely. And also just to mention that we actually had a new ruling that came in for home education in the UK as of literally the 23rd of April, where basically as a result of the increasing number of people who are home educating, because so much to say on that, why, then there's now been more rules that have been put into place, which they're calling safeguarding rules, but it's actually more than that. Another discussion. But the point is that the home education landscape is drastically changing, and we were just ahead of that, because if we'd have decided to take the children out of school as of after 23rd of April, would have been a very different process. So we're really blessed that we made that decision when we did, and then we realised that freedom really does exist when you make those radical choices.
Yes.
And it involves a lot of thought process and a lot of undoing, especially for somebody who's a trained primary teacher. It then meant that you and I were looking at life in a very different way.
Yeah, absolutely. The initial conversation is, oh, they're not in school. It means holidays will be cheaper.
Well, we'd never been on holiday.
Exactly.
We literally, the last time we went on holiday was to have sperm and an egg meat in a Petri dish.
Yes.
That was the last time we went on holiday.
Obviously, like a tongue-in-cheek, oh, our holidays are going to be cheaper. Oh, no, wait, we can't afford holidays.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, that kind of like kernel of like, oh, we could have more freedom here, but we sort of don't have the assets to create that freedom.
I think the thing about us, which was quite unique, which people don't really perhaps realise, was that we were on the back foot financially as what would be deemed a middle class family, because we had to pay for our own fertility treatment, which set us back about £40,000, which we don't talk about much because we don't want to make it into a big thing. But the reality was that we were refused NHS treatment because of my BMI, and then we had to pay for it privately, and we got ourselves in a situation where we were like, well, we're in it now. And a lot of people, if you have experienced IVF, are very much aware that even 40,000 is sometimes a spit. Some people spend
a trifle, yeah.
Yeah. So we were always on that back foot. So when we moved from our Sussex house to our Margate house as a doer-upper, we had a clean slate. But then when we were doing the doer-upper, we had to then spend on the doer-upper. And so the only way we were, because everyone said to us, well, why are you selling your house? Why would you do that? Why would you sell your asset?
Yes. Why not just rent out your house?
Yeah,
because then you're not going rid of your house.
Okay, sure. I could just rent out my house, but I have absolutely no capital, absolutely no money whatsoever to then do anything moving forward. So I could rent out my house and make very little, because the mortgage rate is now minimum 3.99% at the time, which would have been a fixed 5-year. I could do that. Cool. I'd be left with maybe a few £100 a month, which does not do anything for creating this new lifestyle. And also, there was something very important for me in it around this freedom that would only come from releasing capital from the house, from the car that was owned outright, from wherever we could get it, from anything that we owned in that house. Release the whole fucking lot and start again.
Yeah.
Because we were in a situation where we were and this is what I've been thinking a lot about since everyone's now voting, not everyone, but Reform are very much in a stronger position than they were last week, that the middle class will always be the ones that are struggling the most, because I've always had to work 2-3 jobs. I've always had to try and scrabble around. I've never been able to afford fucking childcare because when I then had the children and paid the 40 grand to have my children, I then struggled to then pay for the childcare, and I was never going to be able to do that. So I made it work so that I was always trying to, and you work from home to make like logistics easier. And so we've always just scrabbled around, and then we looked at it and we're like, but what if we just don't do anything that anyone says is sensible? And in our world that looked sensible. What if we lived by our truth and our needs versus someone telling me that I'm completely ridiculous? Because that's what mostly was received. Yeah. So when the children were being told that they were ridiculous, what did you learn today was a comment that they had once. What did you learn today? And then receiving like that, and then receiving this constant barrage of, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then there was these odd snippets in between where, and I've written about this, where someone would look at me and go, fucking brilliant, you do that.
Yeah.
I did this. Let me tell you about my story.
Yeah.
I did this, and look at where I am. And I think if you can sit in your gnosis, which is why we then created nomestia, is if you can just sit in your gnosis, not Terry's, not your aunt's, not Sandra down the road. If you can sit in your knowing that you're doing and making the choice that works for you, great. If you want to go and get a 5-bedroom fucking house and live in a mortgage that stretches you every month, but you really want to live in that 5-bedroom house, you do that.
Yeah.
And if you want to then do the opposite of that and live in a 7 metre by 2.5 metre van for a bit of respite, you do that.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Absolutely. It was that, wasn't it? It was just the thought of actually being released from that. It was amazing, and it felt too good to pass up, basically.
We were at a point where freedom was an accessible situation for us. And I am somebody who tries to avoid sharing it too much. But also, I think it's important to acknowledge that I do keep an eye on politics. I do keep an eye on, what's going on. And I do think that I do have a firm feet on the ground, sitting with not what's happening right now. I'm not somebody who can just live in the present. I'm consistently looking at what actually it could look like. And I said and called it 2 years ago that we're going to end up in a reform situation. Come on, Farage is going to push his way through. I looked at some of the behaviours that we were navigating in the UK, and I was witnessing it from kind of a bird's eye view, like sitting with it and thinking, I don't want this anymore. At the end of it, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want the house. I don't want the garden filled with fucking snails and I can't even grow my allotment vision anymore. I don't want this. I don't want my children just to home educate within the confines of Kent in this very interesting landscape that doesn't provide them with much more than it being Kent. Me thinking, oh, Kent's a bit more open-minded than Sussex. Is it fuck? Right? Like, I don't want that anymore. I want to see the world, and I know that the UK system is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Trump's in charge in America. Whatever happens in America comes over to the UK, just takes a bit of a lag. Farage is bum-licking, Trump. This is literally the reality that we're living in. I said to several people about Farage and the reform, and they looked at me like I was batshit. And he won 600 seats last week. So, the point is that it's going to be harder to have freedom, I think, moving forward. And I felt like we were at a 5-year fixed end with our house, and it looked like a good point to just start again. And that's,
Basically, that was the van life, the start of the van life. Well, we were looking at other options. We were looking at like downsizing to a flat and Airbnb being that and doing all these kind of things. But eventually we landed on a van and living in a van.
I didn't want to. I'd already thrown myself into a community and you were in Margate, but not really. We hoped that Margate would provide you more freedom than you were getting in Sussex, but then that didn't happen because Margate is very much like, I used to say, like, it's very much on the arse end of like the UK. It would take a long time to get out of Margate, and we felt that you needed to experience more, and we looked at migrating abroad. We looked at everything that you could think of, because the first step was to sell the house. We sold the house. What now?
Yeah, I mean, we literally accepted an offer on the house, and we were like...
At asking.
Yeah.
Within 5
we were
days.
Like,
within 5 days.
Yeah. And so the, our estate agent was saying to us, oh, have you found something? Have you,
We're just like,
have you got your... And we were like, don't really know what we're doing.
I did like that.
Think we might take the cash, maybe?
Just
give
it a tent.
Yeah, just take the cash.
Don't think people understand as well, like, it isn't just about, you can choose the freedom path, and it's not just about staying in your knowing and staying in your lane and choosing that joy. It comes with a lot of research, a lot of work. It's a lot of work, because it's like you're going upstream, because everyone around you thinks you're an idiot. Tends to be the odd person doesn't, and genuinely thinks you're an idiot, not telling you to your face, but genuinely is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And we were blessed with like only a couple of people, I would say only a couple of people who stood by our choices and was actively like, yeah, fucking that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you have to consistently do the work. So in order to get to that point, it was thinking about what would nomestia look like as a result of all this work that we've done to undo the I always say to have undone the doing, right? And so then when we were in the tent, the bow tent, living in the bow tent, 4 months.
Yeah.
that's where nomestia, so I created a brand vision board for nomestia as we were selling the house, because I wanted to see what our life would look like. Nomestia is genuinely born from and derived from the journey that we went on. I created the vision board. I was like, these are only the emojis that we're going to use for nomestia. This is the language that we're going to use. This is the font that we're going to use. These are the images. We did like a photo shoot in the back end of where we lived, and like so on and so forth. And then I created the intro video, and we were trying to work out when was the right time to share. And predominantly what I said to you that I want it to look like, it's like the merging of a community space that's not physical, but maybe at times it might be physical, but I'm certainly not going to be running any world schooling hubs at a ridiculous amount of money per person. But it's like, I want people to feel like they belong to a conversation, not anything more. No one's telling you to sell your fucking house and live in a van, because believe me, I've got some shit to say about that as well.
Yeah, don't think for a second that it is easy.
No, it's like, that's the thing. I'm so, like, I know that we're over it, that van life is easy. I know that we're over it. Like, surely we're over those videos. But, like, and we all know that, but actually I find van life much easier than I ever imagined in many respects. But it's this whole... It's about what you, again, it returns back to doing what you want to do in a world that you're looking at and thinking, well, it's a little bit on fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so that's why one of the downloads that I then created, which you can get if you subscribe to Substack, again, not something that I've been sharing enough, I understand, but I wrote like a PDF on how to return to your hearth, your home, within a polycrisis, which is what we're navigating right now. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty for people. And doing this, what we've done, creates a massive amount of uncertainty within what is already a really uncertain climate, you know?
Mm. The whole point of Nomestia was that it was not really about the van life.
No.
It was about doing something differently, going against the usual, and finding a way, basically.
Yeah, finding a way. And the point of the van, this is why we chose the van. The point of the van was to explore and find if there was somewhere that we wanted to belong. And that's not something that we've spoken about. But our whole reason, really, for selling and living in the van was because we would have this chunk of money, and then that money could be put towards buying something. And we didn't know what that was, and we don't know what that looks like. I always have a vision. I've had this vision for a very, very long time, but I know that that vision isn't accessible, and that's what I'm finding the hardest to sit with. That even now, when I've got the capital to potentially do it, I don't have enough capital to do it. Because what I want to create is what everyone wants. Everyone wants it. Everyone wants a bit of land. Everyone wants to build their own thing. And you can look at videos like Windmill, is it called Windmill Community or Windmill Farm Community? I get it confused because there's literally a windmill community in Margate, but it's like Windmill Farm or something, and he's like aggressively telling you why you should create community.
Oh yeah, like he makes it sound as if like you're stupid for not doing it.
And then and then he sells you an ebook on how to do it.
Yeah. Pyramid scheme.
But it's like it's like he's selling this life of being out of the system. And the point is, when you realistically look at it, and I saw a video from a van lifer the other day, and she was like, and it was on one of those big channels, and she's like, I'm so happy that I'm out of the system. And I'm like, babe, you're not out of the system, are you? No one is out of the system. You're not out of it. You're still in it. Yeah. Because this is what people are like with they try to make their vans as off grid as possible.
Yeah.
You're always going to need something.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, I can be off grid for like a month. What are you eating, mate?
Yeah, like what
are you getting?
Catching your food outside?
Were you eating scarab beetles or something in the desert there?
Like it's so fucking pointless to say, like, you know, I've got a 400 litre water tank. Okay, great, but what do you do for food? Just wondering, because your fridge is limited in a van, innit?
Yeah, you're not like some survivalist who's got like a fucking massive larder full of tins of vegetables and tins of meat.
Living off stray dogs.
Oh yeah, no.
Anyway, this the point. Look, the point is that like you're not living off grid. That you are always going to be part of the system.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, whatever you choose. And so when I'm looking at creating this place, the children are very much like, so mummy, have you found land then? Have you found where we're going to be? And it's like, no, mate, because I've looked literally all over the world. Ask me a name of a country and I can tell you the rules and regulations for an expat. Yeah. That's literally where I'm at. And then it goes back to, well, I could just buy land in Scotland. Yeah, but then you could buy land in Scotland, but you're going to need a bit more capital to buy land in Scotland, okay? Or you're going to buy it and pray that you get the... even if you've got planning in principle, you've got to pray that they then accept your planning. And then what you've got to do is pray that they're going to accept your planning with your design, that you're like, yeah, me and my husband are just going to build it. Like, it's going to be fine. And then they're like, nah, mate, like, you need an actual person. Because we were talking about this, we were watching our friend build his little conservatory on the back of his house, and how much, because he's an engineer, and how much detail he's gone into. And then I'm like, no, we don't have any engineering experience. The cabin that we built in my garden was definitely on a wonk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that dream is very much, and, you know, we've got a lot to say on that as well, but that dream of buying land feels very far removed because essentially what everybody is looking for is community and utopia.
Yeah. The utopia is what we always talk about.
We talk about it all the time.
And we're like, does it exist? Does it exist in terms of homeschooling? Does it exist in terms of somewhere where you can live, where it's relatively affordable, relatively easy to get a visa, relatively easy to get the pets?
And fucking pets add so much to my life.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's another thing that they've done recently in the UK. They sacked off the fucking passports for the dogs. So that's
yeah. Let's not get into that. That's a whole other podcast. So yeah, it's really, really difficult. I mean, it seems like we're just going to carry on travelling in our van for a bit, aren't we?
Well, the thing is that the reality of it is that van life isn't as cheap as everyone makes out either. The only way that this has been a little cheaper is because, and that's why we've stayed in Morocco, not just because I've been bloody waiting for the sun, which has arrived this week, but also because it's cheaper. Like, so much cheaper to live in Morocco.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how it's so much more accessible. Like, campsites are a fraction of the cost on the continent. There's water, you can get water everywhere.
Yeah.
You can buy your food really cheaply if you're prepared to go to the local butchers and the local like markets and the local shops. It's really cheap. There are things that are not as cheap. There are things that are on par with perhaps the continent, but in general it's cheaper. So we've saved a lot of money by being out here. But when we go back to the continent, it ends up being about £2,000 a month to live in a van and that's not us doing fancy excursions. That's literally living costs of being in the van.
Not eating out. That's just food and diesel camping and
because sometimes you do need a campsite with children. Like, that's the reality of having 3 children. But you know, avoid it as far as we possibly can. But if you're on the continent, a campsite for one night with 3 children can be about £35. And so it's going to be a bit of and obviously we'll be podcasting about it, I'm sure, but it's going to be a bit of an eye-opener to go from what is essentially like a £3 a day night car park or £9 with a swimming pool and a shower to going back to the UK where water doesn't exist everywhere because we've got rid of all the wells, another discussion. And we also, you know, down the south where we are from, it's to go and see friends and family. It's going to be like basically extortion to park this van anywhere and just going to see what happens from there. So then we were looking at, where does nomestia go? How do we keep building on what we're trying to achieve, which is, okay, we can't really buy land right now. That's not accessible to us because the land that we want and what we want to create is not within our budget. So then it's like, where do we go with nomestia here on in? Where do we drive? Do we drive? Does van life continue? And there's like three things what we're sitting with at the moment, apart from utopia doesn't exist, even though I've spent far too many hours trying to find it, is first of all, you can't drive your van in winter to guaranteed winter sun. And that's something that I think is something that my nervous system genuinely needs. And a van of 5 people need to be able to know that they can fling open the door and the weather will be okay as far as possible. Not guaranteed in terms of like every frickin' day, oh look, blue skies. But what we've experienced since leaving the UK apparently is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
But we have found that we haven't had anything but challenging, changeable weather.
Yeah, the weather has been particularly... Yeah, everybody says it's an anomaly, to try and say another difficult word, this year. But yeah, we've been very unlucky with the weather.
I mean, just the example was that we didn't have a podcast going at that time. We'd have made a great content.
Yeah.
But we were like literally hiding in the van behind a hedge 5 kilometres, 10 kilometres away from a fucking tornado that killed a British woman in a van.
Yeah.
Like, this is the level of weather that we've been... And even the Moroccans are like, this isn't the usual weather. So we've been challenged by the weather. And then I look at the where you can drive your van. And I've even looked at, can you ship your van to South America? Do I want to go there? Absolutely not. Looked at that in much detail, much to say. Then it's like, okay, can you drive it to Asia? Well, you can if you're willing to pay fucking extortion of import tax and you drive it through some fascinating places. So, like, yeah, not really on my list. Thailand also has problematic visas now. It's not easy just to do runs in Thailand. So you're only going to be in certain parts of South Asia anyway, even if you did get your van there. And then it leaves Turkey or Greece, or shipping it to an island, which
like the Canaries.
Like the Canaries, but that's also not guaranteed and very expensive, especially for a truck our size.
Yeah.
It's based on size, and pets need a cabin. So when we were looking at the next year, I've been in this massive, and this is what we come back to. It's like, oh, well, it's easy. They're just selling their van and living in, like, selling their stuff and living in a van. But this is what I want to explain as much as possible, is that it's not easy to just do that and just find sun, or do that and live cheaply and just be like, fuck the system. What it looks like is you're in a system that needs careful planning in order to ensure that you're staying within the rules of wherever you're going. And it then means that it actually works for you as a person and your family. And that is very difficult for many reasons, and including owning a British passport only now with Brexit rules. So it's now very difficult to do that. And so we're trying to work out what the next year looks like, because that really matters to me. You know, I want to be able to keep building on what we're creating with Nomestia. I want to create this community. I want to create this conversation. And I want to be able to find a place that genuinely supports us and feels really nourishing. And that's something that I'm struggling with, because Morocco is amazing and we've had great sun, you know, actually in general. But I don't feel like it's a place that I want to logistically navigate again for another winter. Yeah. I don't want to drive all the way back to the UK for my MOT, because bureaucracy means I need an MOT for my insurance.
Oh no, but we're out the system, Naomi.
No, yeah, sorry, you're out the system. You don't need an MOT. Fuck it. Just get a dodgy one in Portugal.
Oh, I just love not being part of the system, Naomi. Oh, right. What? So you can just stay in Morocco forever, can you? No?
No.
Oh no. Oh no, it's only 90 days at a time.
Well, this is the point, you know, we've done the border run, we drove to the top, we drove down just to keep with the Brexit rules. Now we're going to go back, we're trying to earn back our days, making sure that we keep within our days, and then we're trying to get back for MOT. And then when we get for the MOT, you could then sit there and go, right, we're going to do 90 days here, and then we could drive all the way back down. That's what people are not talking about. Because okay, are we going to sit in the UK in our van? Not with 3 children. You're not going to do that in the winter months. So it's now looking at our options. Do we keep the van? Do we keep
it's an asset.
Do we keep the van? Do we put the van in storage? Do we use the van?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, like I say, like, we've literally looking at the whole world. It was like, you know, before we moved to Margate, we had no ties where we were, so it was like we were like looking at the whole of the UK. This time, we're moving and we're looking at the whole world here. Like, you know, where are we going?
Yeah, and so that's been a ridiculous like for me. I know that you're not in it, and I'm like, so I've done some research again. Another night, another day. The children looking over my shoulder. What are you looking at now, mummy?
Yeah.
What are you researching now, mummy?
What country are we researching tonight?
Yeah, where are we going next, mummy? You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's. But what's important for me is to hold on to the freedom, and I'm not willing to just sink my money into an area of the world that I know nothing about, and try and live this dream that might not actually exist there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be really careful about that, because then that won't have worked out. But at the same time, I'm trying to explore options for us all that feel nourishing, and that's becoming more and more challenging to look at, really, when you look at the options that you have. You think you have this freedom, but when you really look at it, it's bound by quite a lot of challenges. So I think that's what nomestia is going to be. It's going to be this journey of finding something that feels nourishing constantly. And this part of the journey to here has felt really nourishing. It's been exactly what we needed. But now we've got to think about what's next. And that involves a lot of logistics and a lot of navigation and money. It needs money.
Yeah.
So ferries are not cheap. Diesel is not cheap. Like, pet paperwork is not cheap if you want to bring your pets. So it's like trying to showcase that, but through a more, grounded lens, I suppose.
Yes.
I would say.
It's not easy, but it has been, I think, overall, it has been the best choice for us to do it in this way, and to do it in the van, and to just get out and explore. It's felt good. It was just reminded me, because I was talking about another van life Instagram, and it was the we're talking about the cliche ones, and it was like, van life isn't always easy. And it was like, one of the videos was of this young van life couple, and it was like a video of them arguing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and in my mind, it was like, well, what? Who's doing that video?
What were they arguing about?
I don't know, but no, it was like from far away, and it was them like arguing next to the van. I'm like, have they literally just set that up?
Oh, what? Hold on. There was someone else arguing, or it was them arguing?
No, it was them. It was like, oh, van life isn't hard, and there's like a little video of them arguing. And then you're like, well, what? Who's recording that? So you just set that up?
A genuine argument? Or just like for the reels, for the gram?
Is it a genuine argument? I mean, that's what I don't mean. That's why. Anyway.
I think that...
It just made me laugh.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for living with someone in a small space. I'd love to get under the bonnet of relationships of people in a van.
Yeah, I know. It's annoying, isn't it? Because you were annoyed about... So we had the lovely Lang for Adventure guys on, but you were sort of disappointed that you didn't sort of... You want to get into the nitty-gritty of...
Yeah, next time I'm going to really get into it. I'm like, come on.
Talk to me about your relationship, and how is that in the van?
I think...
Because, tricky. Yeah. I mean, again, this is a whole other podcast, so let's not get into this. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's not always the easiest thing to navigate. And I think we've navigated it pretty well, considering, but it's been hard. Really, 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 really hard, because there's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide, yeah.
And I think that's another thing that needs to be thought about, is the stress. That's why people don't do... This is why people probably... Some people, not necessarily consciously, but subconsciously, are like, it's easy to keep with this financial situation that we're dealing with. And it's easy to just be in the cycle and carrying that on. Then having...
School run, go to work.
Do that.
Do your housework. I mean, just...
It's easier.
The cycle.
It's...
Scroll reels.
Whatever you want to do for your escapism.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, right? That's so much easier and much more accessible. And involves a lot less thought process, and is welcomed. Sometimes I'm like, what would it be like to be back in that? Genuinely, what would that be like? There is a massive amount of decision fatigue. And I think that's the problem. That is one of the problems with van life. And now when I'm looking at van life and I'm like, oh, because I just thought that you could get guaranteed sun. I honestly thought if you drove your van south Spain, I'd get the sun that I need. And that's not my reality. That isn't the reality of the EU. And so now I'm like, oh, and not even guaranteed in Morocco. The fuck? You can't even drive your van to Morocco and get guaranteed like the amount of vitamin D.
In March and April.
Yeah. So so now it's like, so now it opens the world again. And it opens up this, do you have the van still? Do you know, and then when you go back to all of that again, it's like exhausting. That's essentially one of the, I think, the biggest things that people have to sit with is the amount of decisions that freedom, using those like quote years, freedom gives you, because it's not actually freedom when it feels like there's a lot of bureaucracy to navigate, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I think nomestia's kind of got to, really.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else we wanted to talk about? No, I think that pretty much covers it, and where how nomestia was conceived. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Nomestia.